3, 2.
Hello, welcome back to our next four corners. Limited editions, the good, bad, and the ugly. And today with me, Mazzy, and Michael is Danny. If you watch this video on my channel, you already know Danny. We did some collaborations together. Danny is a reviewer, an audiophile, high-ender, and foremost a completely crazy guy. And so we thought, who better to invite than him when it comes to this, at least nowadays, a bit crazy topic. And Danny, you start, our guest.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yes. Michael Norman, thank you for having me. Really excited to be a part of this. The whole crew that follows Michael's channel, thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. I love the comment section. I'm a limited edition too. I'm one of one, just so you know. So, we got that topic out of the way. No, super excited about this subject. I think we're going to have a good time bringing up all sorts of things. And yeah, anyway, excited to chat and, have a good time, show off a couple of records, and give off some good California vibes to the world.
So you show the first edition today, Danny. Which one did you choose?
I have the honors. Oh my gosh! Look. And by the way, please notice how I'm dressed up for the occasion. This is a very serious topic, and I figured it would behoove me to dress appropriately. So limited edition. So the first thing when Norm sent the invite and Michael told me we were going to be doing the good.
Wait! Stop the show! Stop! Nobody ever calls me Norm. Norm is the guy that sits on the bar at Cheers. Okay. All right. Just call me Mazzy. That's the Maslov.
All right.
Okay. Continue now. I'm not cutting that out.
No, that's good. Leave that in. So when Michael told me to that this is going to be the topic, I was like, okay, wait a second. And kind of Michael talked about it. Everything in vinyl is limited edition, basically, right? But there's obviously different scales of limited edition. So I'm going to pull up one that is actually, speaking of Chad and limited editions, here's a limited edition for you. It's the Thorin's 125th anniversary 3 LP set that Chad did for Thorin's 125th anniversary. And this came out, gosh, I want to say 15 years ago. Somebody do the math. Well, I guess 2008 is what it says right here. Duh. So this came out 2008, long out of print. Okay. How many of these did he print and how many of these went out and are in the market? Well, I don't know. Here's what I do know. If you want to find this right now, eBay, be prepared to spend about $500 for it, if you can find it, right? The cuts on it are fantastic. I mean, it's like a who's who of Chad's repertoire of reissues. There's classical. There's, of course, the Chad typical blues stuff on there. There's some rock and pop. I mean, super limited edition. Now, why is no one complaining about it? Like they have been with, small batch, this, that, and the other, and all the stuff that's been going on the last couple of weeks? Great question. I guess it wasn't that popular of a title. That's why no one's complaining about it. Anyway.
It wasn't probably gone within 24 seconds.
That's very true.
The audience was different of vinyl in 2008 as well, too. I mean, it was very direct and minuscule, I think. And it's really changed a lot where people are crossing genres and buying records. This is what we'll get into, I'm sure. They're jumping in like the jazz thing with Music Matters Jazz and all that. I know people who would never, ever bought a jazz record that all of a sudden have to get these small batches or these SRXs or something. It's like, if I miss it, I miss it. And there's like that clamoring right there too. So.
Right.
That's actually a good point, Mazzy. I talked to Chad just the other day, and he was going off about how everybody is bugging him now because everybody wants the stuff that he pressed 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I said, wait a second, the market has changed. And I think you just touched on that. I think over the last 10, 15 years, the market has changed quite dramatically with regards to reissues, how many they're pressing, the scarcity of it, how many they can get, the big labels getting involved, they wanting to press their own records in very limited fashion, right, to jack up the marketing level. So anyway, interesting conversation, no doubt.
Great first choice. Who's going now? Messi, you or Michael in Austin?
So Michael go.
I'll go.
There we go.
I wanted to talk about the MoFi one steps. The first one was Santana, right?
Abraxas, yeah.
Abraxas. So, and I think the first few of the one steps were limited to 3,000, if I'm not mistaken.
I
And now
think
they're
1,500.
1,500. So now they're doing more like 5,000 to 8,000.
And 10,000, yes, even 10,000.
Oh, 10,000. Wow. So the first one I ever got was this one.
He has it. Great one.
Still sealed.
Yeah.
Still
Well,
so you
here's
are
the
a
thing.
flipper.
That's
No,
the
no,
problem.
no.
That's the fucking problem.
Well, I already had two. I have two other copies of this.
No, you don't.
Not of this actual record, not this
Okay.
issue, but I have
Not
I
that
have
version.
two good versions that are play copies. But oh yeah, so this one's 3,000.
No, 700.
Oh, you got a low one.
3,000.
Nice.
Okay, this was the third, but I'm quite sure that the Abraxas is 1,500.
Okay, but I did want to mention this handwriting. So whoever at RTI or whoever is doing this, it always seems to be the same penmanship. I think it's the same person that's numbering all these.
Nice job.
But I'm curious your thoughts on the strategy from MoFi's point of view, the cost effectiveness versus how many they're printing and how many they can sell, how many they can project. Obviously now they know they can sell 8,000 of these popular jazz or rock titles. What's your experience been with these in terms of the limited nature of them?
Well, can they sell that many? I
Right.
mean, that's the question, right? I mean, what was it? Vinyl Me Please, when they first announced the Grateful Dead box set, I think it was 7,500 copies. They're sitting on them. I mean, first of all, I think that they scaled it back.
They're sold out now. They're sold out now.
They are? Okay, so that was what? Took
After
6
our
months?
videos, Ned.
It took a while. There's a story that I mentioned after.
Nice. The upcoming MoFi one-step Pearl, Janis Joplin, that's supposedly going to be 10,000 copies. Are they going to sell 10,000 copies of Janis Joplin Pearl?
Right.
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, first of all, they have a great regular 45 RPM of it. My guess is they're going to use the same master for it.
Of course.
So are they going to sell 10,000 copies of it? I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, it's curious also to look at the resale third party, secondary market of these too. The earlier one steps are astronomical. This is my most valuable record I own in my collection, my small collection. But it seems like as they go forward, like the Monk's Dream one is only a couple hundred now. Like they're not quite as, obviously there's more copies around. It's kind of interesting. And it's curious to see now Kraft and these other, and Impex too, with AB doing the kind of one-step process of this formula. Do you think other audiophile reissue labels will be kind of also trying to cash in on this?
And they go
Absolutely.
different routes, and that's a good thing. But I think when the video goes on, we will go through that different kind of ways other labels go, or even other genres go. I show some, for my part, I show some examples from the electronic area. And Michael, you probably know, they go different routes, much better routes, I think.
Okay, I'll jump in here. First, I want to say something. One thing that when I'm doing these, whenever I'm on forums or doing my videos and we're talking about limited editions and things, and I read people saying, why don't they just press this many or that many, whether it's small batch or any other label? A lot of people just don't understand, especially with the third-party labels like MoFi, Acoustic Sounds, is there are licensing limitations. Going back to, Music Matters Jazz, when they did their, I think they were doing 2,500 and 3,000 or 3,500, depending on the 45 versus 33 versus stereo. And I don't know all the configuration exactly, but you are limited to a license. A label is not going to give you carte blanche. And I am so well aware of this being a photo agent because I license images for a specific amount of time and a specific usage. So the client gets a license. Obviously now it's the difference when Music Matters, when did they start? 12, 15 years ago? I'm not quite sure. There wasn't a big market. It was a very, narrow market of audiophile buyers buying these. So they didn't sell out. Even in 2019, when they first announced the SRX, I hardly knew a lot about it. I had a handful of them. And then if you remember that January, they released all, I don't know if it was 9 or 12 titles all at once, and you could buy all 12 for $600. I bought mine like in July or August of that year. So this was 7, 8 months later. I said, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. I bought them all. I could buy them all. I think you couldn't buy all the individuals. Some had sold out, but they saved some to buy as a collection. So these labels are, and I'll get into later showing some SRXs that came out when everyone had a clamor in that 10 a.m. Pacific time, and in 45 seconds, everything sold out if you could get through. That's the problem. And I've had this conversation with Michael, and you just showed those MoFi, the big box things. I personally am not a fan of one frigging record coming in a box. I realize there are double 45s and there's a piece of fucking foam in there and all that other shit, but I would rather have it now like this. I mean, at least, Lush Life, the Coltrane that came out, the small batch, to me, this is the thickest an album should be. Maybe if it's obviously double 45, a little thicker, but who needs a friggin' box? And I know Michael even takes the records out of the box and keeps them separate. So, I mean, I prefer a record as a record. Now, Michael and I had a discussion about that too. I'm fine with a box set when, like the Grateful Dead box that Danny was talking about, that's a collection, maybe a discography of an artist. And that's a different thing than one title stretched over in a fat box. But again, there are licensing issues. And now these companies like Kraft, who's owned by Concord, and, big label, has vast catalog. These companies, same with the Tone Poet, they realize they can do it themselves. What we love about the Tone Poet, theoretically, they're in print forever, or at least in the, as soon as they can ramp up and press them again. And so people are clamoring for the hard to get ones, like they can't get Chet Baker Sings now. So they're going for $75, $100 in some cases. But if people just wait, they'll be in print for $30, $35. I just wanted to show this because I got this and I like it. I did not have this title, but this last record that just went on sale, the Yusef Lateef, and those of you who don't know who are watching, the small batch is part of Kraft and 1,000 copies limited. Now, people got their panties in a bunch trying to get this record, and I totally get it. I'm not sure what the answer is to sell 1,000 copies of anything. In some ways, I like it when they don't announce, when it's just like you hear the word, they put it up there, and people find it. It's still going to sell fast, but people will read the Hoffman Forum, and that'll sell out records or wherever on YouTube or something. This is a copy from 2019, Vinyl Me Please, and it's excellent.
Yeah, but it's also gone. It's also gone now, no?
It is gone, but you could get it for, I don't know, $50 to $75. I don't know. Same with the one Michael just showed this morning. I saw his video, and he showed a copy OJC, right?
Yeah.
Copy. The only thing I don't like about this is it's this thin cover. It's like the Blue Note Classics that are out now, and I wish Kraft does a lot of great covers. Like their series of Chet Baker covers
Exactly, they are great.
are beautiful. So I wish I had this. Now, when this went on sale as a small batch, I was lucky enough to grab one, and it's coming. And I promised it to Michael because I think he deserves it more than I do. I don't really need it. The only thing I keep thinking now, maybe I'll swap out the covers and get him the shitty cover,
Yeah.
and he can have a nice record. We'll see how that goes. Hey,
That's
don't.
funny.
Oh, now he's all upset. You're
No,
upset.
I'm not mad. Yeah.
When someone sends you a gift, do you like say, "Oh my God, I like that, but I wish he got
Yeah.
I wish he got me the 600 thread pillowcases instead of the 300 thread pillowcases."
Gift exchange.
Exactly. Anyway, this is an interesting conversation because what Michael says on his channel all the time, if you want something, grab it
Yes.
sooner than later, even not these limited editions. One last thing before, I know I'm taking up time here, but this morning I get an email and Vinyl Me Please. No, I get confused which one. Craft, Vinyl Me, one of those friggin' things. They're putting out a double the best of that was on CD only, I think, that is Violent Femmes. And there's 500 of this colored one, and then in black, and there's going to be indie exclusives. Well, someone on the forums already said they put out this morning, those 500 are sold out now, and he was bitching. But so what? There's black ones you can still get. There's going to be indie exclusive. I mean, the whole color variation thing is sick, and I get sucked into it a little bit, which I'll talk about one of my next rounds. But it is this thing that people feel they're going to miss out, and that's the unfortunate part of record buying.
Mazzy, literally, as you were saying that, did anyone follow the absolute insanity of Paul McCartney 3 on yellow vinyl selling for
Whom do you ask?
$3,000?
He knows a bit about it.
On my next round, that'll be my next one. Just hold off of it. That's going to be a good story.
Insanity. By the way, on the colored thing, I think the reason that these guys are all getting into the colored game is it's an artificial way for them to request more licenses from the label.
Yeah.
I don't know that, but that would just be my guess, because I know that in the past labels would differentiate between 33 and 45 RPM releases, and they would give out licenses for 45 RPM, but not for 33, because presumably they themselves want to do it at 33. If you look at all the Bob Dylan stuff that MoFi did, that was all on 45, right?
Well, they did some. Anyway. They did some on 30. Oh, actually, they did stereo and mono in 45. Yep. Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's like, my son, when he was a kid, he collects Pokemon cards, and there'd be them special golden edition, like the golden ticket, Willy Wonka, and you get that special thing, and you have to collect to get all these. And I just saw someone post now all of a sudden with this this virtual collecting that's happening. It's it's so bizarre. People are spending like tens and hundreds of $1,000s on literally things that do not exist in physical form. That's a whole other discussion. Maybe someday we'll do that. All right, Mr. Ludwigs.
Okay, but before I start, one recommendation to our viewers now. I have the feeling that this will be a long one. Grab something to bite, something to drink.
Good one.
We are not done.
I have another booking at 11:30 today at my time. So
still the elephant in the room, craft.
Yep.
Small batch, because I think it's important. It's interesting topic, because when they brought out this John Coltrane, the Lush Live, it was gone. Danny remembers that probably too. Mazzy, you too. 20 minutes, 22 minutes, 25 minutes in that area, which is of course quite fast, but they knew it. When you put out 1,000 titles from Lush Live as in one step on this semi-transparent super vinyl, yada, 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 this will go fast, and you create the next one-step Abraxas. That was the whole idea. And then they put out the second one. And they did even worse, because they announced the exact time when you can order it, which is a terrible thing to do. Why is it so terrible? Because all the flippers, those are professionals. They have their buying bots.
Right.
They set them up, the time, the website, and then bam, click, 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 3, 5, 4. So, and now it really gets ugly, really ugly. 5 minutes. You send that photo to me, Danny. 5 minutes after it was sold out. Go to eBay and you have the first 7, 6, 8 copies for $500.
Yep.
And you know, that's a terrible thing. Why is that so terrible? Because nowadays we have thousands of collectors, which is a great thing. We have a lot new vinyl collectors, and Bentham, we have now, let's say, 400 happy guys who got it, and thousands of unhappy collectors, and say, what the fuck? What? Not nice. And if you get too often disappointed, we want to be happy. Our hobby is there to make us happy. And if you get too often to disappoint, you say, no, I'm out here. I don't want it. Keep it.
I know, we're all audiophiles to an extent. I think obviously Michael and Danny are on a different level than I am, and I love the great sound. But to me, and we've had this conversation too. I would trade. I have about 75 or 80 Music Matters Jazz. About half, a little more than half of them are 45 RPM. I would trade all the 45s in an instant for 33s because of the way I like to listen to music. Now, absolutely, 45s have a whole different thing when you're comparing A, B. When you don't compare them, do you notice it? That's another question I know we're not talking about here, but I don't care about that. And
that's legit, Messi, of course, that's legit. And the good thing is you can decide. You can decide, I want it that way, this way, that way. But here you can't decide. And that's what is not correct. And you in your statement, Messi, you said it often has something to do with the rights, how many you may press. If MoFi says, I want to do Bob Dylan Desire, okay, you can do 3,000, but in this case, it's completely different. They can do
because they own the license.
They can do 1 million if they want.
Well, see, we talk about it's a one-step formula. You should maybe after explain what that is, opposed to the 3 steps and 3-step programs. It's like we're all alcoholics here. But I would be happy if Kraft just put out a really nice tip-tongue, like the Chet Baker series. I think those sound really good. And they're what, $30, $35, $25, whatever. Put Yusef Lateef that for the people that don't really care or didn't get 1,000 copies for $100, for $30 or $25, you get a nice tipped-on jacket. It's not a one-step, but I'm sure it'll sound. If you don't have it, you're not going to know what you're missing, and most people probably won't even hear the difference. Most people,
especially considering that the Yusef that you're holding in your hand, that was cut by Bernie Grunman.
Yeah.
And the small batch is also cut by Bernie Grunman.
Well, this is 750 copies, so this was a small batch too. It sold out, but not in 2 minutes,
Yeah. Right, and
then I'm finished, and maybe you, Danny, you can confirm that the third small batch probably will also be 1,000. Am I right, Danny?
I think so. That what I heard is that this series was ready to launch late 2019. So we're talking about almost 2 years ago, right? And then, I don't know the details, nor does it really matter at this point, but I think the 4th copy is probably going to be the one where they're like, oh shit, we got way too much demand. On the other hand, I gotta be honest, guys.
1,500.
Yeah, 1,001 copies. I think part of the other part of this equation is that, and again, I don't know this. This is pure conjecture on my part. But if I put my marketing hat on, I think obviously Music or Music Direct, Mobile Fidelity, they have their one step. Chad has his UHQR. I think these guys wanted to get in the game, and they were like, how do we create a splash on the market and get our name right up there with the big boys so that in the market, we're accepted as part of the big boys club as opposed to Johnny come lately.
Yeah, something
Right?
like that. Yeah.
And I think they built this scarcity into it because, I mean, they had to know that if you put out, to Michael's point, an email 3 days before you're announcing a title with the exact time that the title is going to become available, that these copies are going to sell out in a second. I mean, you have to know that. Come on, it's like 2021 at this point, right? So, you know, I think part of this was probably on purpose. I think part of this was probably planned. And part of this was, you know, hey, let's do 1,000 copies. Let's see how this goes, right? I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Excuse me, Danny, but how stupid is it? Do you think when they put out 3,000, they would have been gone within 2 days, 3 days? And you know how much that would have changed? Nothing.
Mhm.
Nothing. There are still people who say, wow, they are cool. I want them.
I understand now that they're catching up because they started 2 years ago, and everyone's catching up in the record pressing business and marketing and printing and everything. It seems to me like if they could have, I mean, they're not going to, but they could say, okay, the third one, we scheduled 1,000. We're going to do it in 2 parts.
Mhm.
Number 3 will be available October, whatever, and it's this title, 1,000 copies. But we're lining up to do a second pressing, another 1,000 or 2,000 in January of 2022 or something. Of course, at that point, they're probably moving on to another title, so they don't really care, maybe. But you know,
I have already put out too many records, you know, just because it fits so what you say. This is Sam Records, and this one is typical for Sam Records. This is the first pressing, and when it's gone, and then they do 7, 8, 9 months later, they do a second pressing. It's on the cover. It's the second pressing. It's in their web shop. It's the second pressing.
And they have the license to those things. It's easier to license those French recordings too.
Probably, but that's the way to do it, you know. Your first pressing still has some value because it's the first pressing, and then you do a second. This is a great example of how you can do stuff like that.
Right.
So do a second pressing from the Coltrane. Do a second pressing from the Latif. Why not? Why not?
Or you do it like the ERC guys. You announce an email and you don't say when it's online, and when it's online, and you're done.
I like that. I prefer that. Even if I'm going to miss it, I'm going to miss out. I hate that anticipation. You have to wait, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the Latif, I did a video this morning on Common Wave Hi-Fi in downtown, and the proprietor there, Wes, he was on the email to, like, the early advance email. If you were on their email list, pre-order to the pre-order essentially, and he said he was there clicking refresh for 20 minutes, you know, and he didn't even know it was gone, and he never got it, even though he was on the pre-list.
I was on the pre-list. That's where I got mine. That is going to Michael with this cover. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Whatever.
Crazy times. And Wes is, I don't know if he's an official reseller of Vinyl Me Please. Kind of switching topics to VMP again, but you know, I think, I don't know. It seems like, you know, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And, you know, I think having some kind of amalgamation of what we just kind of talked about with, you know, doing a better job on the digital e-commerce stuff, you know, which now, I mean, you can, you know, manipulate and send emails out and let people know and give people heads up and all that kind of stuff. You know, Wes, you know, maybe doing some kind of a, you know, launch party or something at his, you know, showroom, which is, I think, you know, predestined for stuff like that. You know, what's interesting, of course, is, has anyone heard from Small Batch any comment at all? I haven't seen a peep from anyone.
Well, about in response to this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they did say something because apparently, like, you know, when it first launched, the very first title, some people they didn't limit it to one copy. So people were ordering multiple copies, and they eventually went through, and I think a couple of people got them through, but they ended up canceling duplicate orders. They just sent something out after this, this thing, the same type of thing they did in, I don't know if it was like a Twitter thing, whatever, that they're going through, and there's some things that multiple orders are going through. That's why apparently like 2 days ago, it went up for sale again, the remaining copies for like literally 45 seconds. And it sold out. They sent an email out like after everyone already bought it. There was probably a handful, who knows? Yeah. But they were being apologetic. They said something about in the future, we're going to be increasing. And, you know, I mean, I don't think they're I know, Michael, you think they're intentionally doing a lot of this stuff for the marketing and for the, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly, as we're talking here, of the, because any promotion is good promotion in theory, every PR. But I think they're a little ill-advised on that. And it'd be nice if they had, yeah, I think it'd be nice if they had I don't want to say a budget line. It doesn't have to be budget, but it can just be a different line of the titles. I mean, that's going to happen, and Kraft better do that. All these, like, you know, Tone Poet, I'm surprised, except for Acoustic Sounds, this Acoustic Sound series that Chad's doing. The weird thing about that, it's a great series so far, but it seems like nobody knows what the fuck's coming out. They announce some things and then nothing. I mean, it's not, at least Tone Poet, and I realize, you know, the printing and the pressing plants are all that backlog.
I think that's the problem, Messi. I think that's exactly the problem.
Yeah, okay.
The pressing plants are behind. So he has his own pressing plants, but I have heard that even Stoughton is 4 months behind.
Yeah, yeah. We heard that from Intervention, your friend, Intervention, where, you know, it's like where something used to be 2 months out, 6 to 2 weeks to 8, it's like 6 months out now.
Yep.
Yeah, but we all agree, I think, when we say that what Kraft did was marketing for pedestrians. Terrible.
Yeah.
Totally stupid.
On a tangent, I mean, the what COVID has done to affect all of our lives really obviously is beyond this conversation, but it's gone so far that apparently like even sleeves, the sleeves that, you know, they put the records in, those are hard to come by now too. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely unbelievable. And then of course, I mean, I have to mention it, you know, who started all this limited edition Wahnsinn, and you know, you can't make a comment without mentioning Classic Records and Michael Hobson.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he was the master marketer of, you know, the starting with this limited edition stuff.
Audiophile stuff, don't forget that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. I mean,
and in an era when that wasn't happening otherwise,
exactly,
he was kind of, he started that ball rolling.
Absolutely. Brilliant marketer. I mean, this is the Holly Cole title, Don't Smoke in Bed. You know, limited edition, you know, clear vinyl and all that stuff. I mean, man, he really knew how to set the tone. And, you know, of course, this is what, 15, 20 years old now, and the times were different. But anyway, limited edition. It's, yeah. And I think the other part is it crosses all genres, right? I mean, it's not just specific to jazz. It's not just specific to rock and pop. You know, look at Michael. I just watched your video last night. You mentioned the Heitnik Bruckner, I think, symphony from the Berliner Philharmonic. That was limited edition too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yeah, but Classic Records did something very, very important, and that wasn't so typical in that time. I think they said, and we keep them coming. Mm-hmm. It's not we put out this Holly Cole and then goodbye. We keep them coming, so you can build up a collection. And that was a time,
but that was a time where they could get. I mean, the major labels didn't give a crap about pressing vinyl. They were into
Mhm,
CDs and everything.
exactly.
So shit,
Yeah.
if it's free money for them, even if it's a small amount to
Yeah.
do these additions in, same with MoFi.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but in a way, it was a crazy idea, Messi. I can compare it. If I say, no, come on, Messi, let's do a DVD collection. Let's build up a DVD. We say, no, we don't do that, of course. But in a way, it was similar.
yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Michael LA, I think we need you to show us something.
Well, I wanted to talk about limited editions and physical record shops. This could also apply to Joe Harley and Ron Rombach and Music Matters. When a title gets low in stock, where is the ethical line of the original cost to the consumer versus an inflated cost? This is an ORG pressing of Astrid Gilberto. This has been out of print for a couple years. I found a copy still sealed in a physical shop at $90. So this is originally $50. I mean, yes, the going rate on the internet is a lot higher. Where's that line of, obviously, if someone's a proprietor of a shop, they have the right to sell, it's out of stock. It's not like current in their inventory. It was just found in a box somewhere in the back, and he pulled it out and looked it up and was like, oh, sell it
Well,
for
it's
double.
kind of like if they were selling used records. Why don't they
Right.
sell used records for $4 now? They're looking the price, and the Led Zeppelin RL is $80 or $150 or whatever it is, and they're going to sell it for that. I mean, I know that's different being a new record, but you're right. MMJ, it's like the friggin' stock market, how they price whatever's remaining.
Mm-hmm.
And still, if you look now, it's the same thing. But even in, let's see, let me see, I have one here. At Waterloo Records in Austin, this is an SRX I grabbed, still new. It was $80, which the original cost, I think, was $65. But it's like,
it was
the 60 or 50 or something.
I think they're $69 or $70.
But even when these were new, they were all $79.99, which I don't know if, I guess that's legal. I don't know. It just seems
you're scratching an incredible, interesting topic, I think, because my son is in this investment branch business, and when he visits me, he always asks me, and how does your collection develop from my last time? And I said, oh, it went up. Yeah, it's interesting. And I said,
your portfolio.
There is this as an investment. It's unbelievable how it goes up and up and up. And imagine that some hedge fund suddenly sees, oh my God.
Yeah, that's because you can see, I only have half my collection in Discogs right now, only half. I'm still working on it, not include my CDs or anything, just vinyl. The medium is 90, the high is 160,000. And that's only half my collection. Now, could I get that? I'm going to, for insurance purposes, for my son.
That's the one point. But imagine some big player comes in with billions of dollars, and there's so much money in the market, and nobody knows where to put this fucking money. That's why the real estate is so high.
Collectibles is huge. There was a NPR story on Heritage Auction, the third biggest auction house in the country. In the United States, and I mean sports memorabilia, and there's this whole virtual thing. Again, I mentioned earlier a little bit. It's whacked. Record music memorabilia, man. Pokemon cards.
If that happens, we can forget buying our records as backstop. They will be so high. So get what you can right now before the stock markets ruin our hobby completely.
I was going to say three words. Limited numbered edition. Those are important words in all collectibles. If they say that it's limited and they say that it's numbered, even if it maybe isn't, that will automatically create a demand.
Yeah, but nobody else says what electric recording company says. They always say electric recording company will never do a repress of what kind ever. You can say my English is not that good, but they won't do it, and that's nobody else says that.
You mean it's kind of like the Elton John farewell tour? and the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one.
Or the Rolling Stones, last time in Germany.
The final
Billy
goodbye.
Joel.
25 years.
Hey, they even had a James Bond title, Never Say Never Again.
Oh God. Okay. A few months ago, I always have my phone next to me like we always do, and I always suggest to people, if you do want to get some of these records, obviously get on the mailing list, but better yet, follow these labels on Instagram. Follow them on Instagram. So I knew this McCartney 3 was coming out that Danny mentioned, and I don't know, Danny may not know, I am 18 cubes are Beatles.
Yes.
18 cubes are Beatles.
Hey, I watched the Beatles versus Kraftwerk thing. That was awesome.
So I wake up one morning and I knew that they're putting something out, but they hadn't announced the release yet of McCartney 3, the pandemic record. And I follow Third Man Records. And one more, it was like 5 in the morning. I don't know why I was up at 5 in the morning. I look at my thing and I see they just announced this special edition, 333 copies. It was pressed using recycled copies of McCartney 1 and 2. It was yellow with black dots like the dice. $60. I think that's a bargain. I went on and I bought it. And then I didn't even read how many copies, to be honest with you. I knew it was McCartney. I'm going to order it anyway. So now if I'm thinking about it, I just order it in that moment. And what's great about between PayPal and the Apple Pay, it's like almost one, it's dangerous, right? Almost one button. So I got a copy. Of course, that sells out in a few minutes because I go to Hoffman right after that and I see someone mention it. As soon as it's on Hoffman, it's gone.
Oh.
So I get my copy, but there's been a big argument about this with all these color variants around the world, around, very retailers has their own version and color. And the only defense I will say, in this case, McCartney is distributed by Universal Music Group, and Capitol Records through UMG. It's their obligation to sell as many records of their artists as possible, obviously in conjunction with MPL, McCartney's company. So I got that record and it finally came out. But of course, I'm not usually one to buy all color variants, but as you see my Beatle collection, that's the one thing. So,
Oh my God. Are you serious? Wow.
The whole rainbow, Matty. The whole rainbow.
But of
Wow.
course, and some of these are going for 50 to 100 to 150 bucks. But the money shot, Paul McCartney, one of the Beatles, 330 copies. It didn't come sealed. It came in like a normal open top thing. It's not a printed. It's a matte cover, different poster. Anyway, you don't have to. So I kept it for like 6 weeks and I started hearing, and I'm not a flipper by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought, I'm getting older. I don't need this. And I started seeing it go. So I actually put it on an auction site. I ended up selling mine for $2,500. Now people are asking up to 35 to 4,000. I think some are going more, and I don't miss it. And again, I don't feel guilty because I'm not a flipper. I have it paid for all these other records. And I sold that record for, less their commission, $2,500, something I paid $60. So that's the most valuable record I had for a moment, because really 333 in the world of one of the most famous artists. I mean, calculate that. That'll go up at some point, but people have a lot of money on their hands. A lot of people don't. And a lot of people out there watching, I know it's a hard time and struggling, but I talked to my friends yesterday in San Francisco, and I love San Francisco, but he hates it now because it's all these people renovating a house with too much money and don't know what to do with it, and people with no money and just struggling right now. It's all that artsy middle class, not even artsy, but the soul on these great cities. I mean, LA to some extent, but in a different way. New York, it's happening, Manhattan. It's a sad, but people have money on their hands to buy this shit. So somebody wants that copy for $2,500, all the power to them. But, I have these copies and they're in my collection for now.
Mazzy, you nailed it. I just saw a note that came in on one of Zillow or Redfin or whatever. There was a home in Berkeley, single family home, I think 1,600 square feet, 1,700 square feet. It went for $1 million over asking price 24 hours after it was on sale.
Wow. It's been like that. I mean, being in LA and some of the cities, I mean, obviously, San Francisco's been crazy before the pandemic. We sold our house. We had 8 offers, all cash, and we sold it for 360,000 over asking, all cash.
Amazing.
I mean, that's
a lot of Beatles
that's
albums.
almost what I bought. I didn't buy my house here for much more than that. And now it's double in Seattle in 7 years. That's another discussion,
One other thing to mention in vinyl limited pressings is the number of new listeners and the new collectors in the past 2 years, especially the past year, talking with proprietors of shops and hearing that turntable sales are up 60% from this time last year. Like there are more people interested. There are more because of Michael Ludwig's on the internet talking to Danny about these special editions. They're selling more. It's like it's real. It's not just
people are home and have a lot of time at home.
Yep.
They're not going out to restaurants. They're not I would be traveling to 6 cities, 7 cities every year, New York and LA and Chicago and Austin. And I didn't do that this year. All the restaurants I've stayed, I drove, I don't know, 600 miles in my car last year, maybe, work at home. I mean, obviously LA, you do that in a day, it's a weird thing. I know that's off topic somewhat, but not so much.
Well, I think it highlights, and I pulled out a title that's very near and dear to me, that I'm going to show you guys in a minute. I think it's the broader conversation of the market forces enacting on products, on stuff that has a built-in scarcity factor, right? And so I think what we're living through is a microcosm of what's been going on for eons and eons. And it's just amplified, I think, in today's day and age because of we're all connected. Mazzy, you mentioned it, you have your phone on you, right? I mean, dude, if I don't have my phone on me, I'm like, something's missing, right? And so I think it's a microcosm because we're so connected. You post stuff on Steve Hoffman's forum and it's like wildfire, boom, right? It's like, Paul McCartney sold out, right? 2 minutes, small batch, sold out, 10 seconds, right? And then when you kind of wind the clock back, I wonder if, for example, the folks at RCA had any idea when this came out in 1958, the Soria series of the Royal Ballet Gala, that today this copy, so I bought this 5-6 years ago for $700. It's a 1S pressing, so it's the first stamper, and it's an early stamper, and I paid $700 for this. It's mint condition. This goes, I just checked on Pup Psych, anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, but
right?
that's legit. That's legit.
But this is limited too, right? I mean, how many of these did they press back then? I have no idea, right? I mean, a couple hundred, maybe 1,000. I don't know.
It's
right?
original. It has scenes.
But it was pressed for a different reason, because the market is so big for that type of music, or beautiful record. Classical's always had a smaller market than popular music, or what they call popular. So they pressed what was appropriate. I think if they thought they could sell 1,000 or 2,000, then they would have done that. Whether it's the Von Karajan Deutsche Grammophon, the 1964 box, one of 4 different versions of the Beethoven's Ninth that he recorded. I think that's the best. That doesn't go for a lot of money now, but they pressed a lot. It was a big seller. Yeah.
What is this going to look like in 100 years, 50 years? It'll be interesting.
God.
Only two choices. extremely expensive, really, really expensive, or next to nothing.
Or non-existent, worthless.
I think it's going to be the former. I think it's going to be really, really expensive. I don't know. I just have a feeling that, you know, this, I don't know. I think it's, you know, what was it, that movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise? And he's in that little the little hut he found or whatever, and he puts on a record, and I forgot what it was, Eagles or Crosby, Stills and Nash, I think, or whatever. And, you know, the movie, I think, plays in the year 2150, somewhere around there, or 2100, you know, which is not that long from now, right? I mean, you're looking at, you know, what, 80 years, 100 years,
80, yeah.
right? Who knows? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. It'll be very interesting, you know, how much longer the market is going to sustain these prices, and it's going to sustain this bullshit of things selling out in 10 seconds. I mean, I can tell you, I think Mazzy, was you or Michael that mentioned something like, you know, people are getting pissed off. I have a bunch of friends that told me after this small batch thing went down the second time around, they're done. They're not going to buy anything from small batch, whatever the title is. They're not going to support that anymore.
Yeah.
I had a few comments on my video who said the same, but if they really don't do, we see. I'm
quit for myself. I'm just gonna act as Michael Ludwig's agent in San Francisco, and
Perfect.
I'll be getting a percentage and a markup next time. This time it's a gratis. This is the teaser, the lost leader.
Really, exactly.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, Ludwig's. I think it's Ludwig's.
Okay. Yeah, but, great choice, Danny, because I think you showed an example of a collector's item why I say the price development is completely legit and it's a good thing. There's nothing bad, and even if it's now 10,000, I say okay, it's all right. And I put out two editions where I think the same, and those are two from these beautiful. Can you see? From this beautiful
Wow.
prestige series from Analog Production. I have the numbered copies, both have the number 16, so quite early, and they are extremely hard to get and very expensive.
But they weren't hard to get initially.
Exactly. I know, because you
That's
told
a
me
different thing, I think.
Completely different. And that they are now, after 6 or 7 years, are now pricey and rare and collector's item. This is a good and beautiful development. You know, when they came out, they really had a hard time selling them. Then the market grows and they want them, more people wants them, so the price goes up and up and up. And that's a healthy development. This is absolutely legit in my opinion, that, you know, this is, I don't, Danny, hilf mir mal, so eine Basis für eine gesunde Entwicklung, für ein gesundes Hobby, wenn das langsam geht.
Right. It's just an organic growth to the value of a record, as opposed to, you know, fabricated, manipulated, you know, driven by digital wackery, you know, demand and supply and the resulting price of it.
Exactly. You know, what's selling a lot of this stuff too is, and we all know this, Hoffman forums and these YouTube videos that we're making, we're selling records for these people. Yes. You've had, I mean, I see your friend Shane, Intervention Records, he pops in, and I think it's a good thing. You know, so far, he's one of the few label guys or record guys that's not getting shit, because everyone loves it. Joe Harley gets in there for a while, and there's always yokels that get pissed off at something because there's a fucking warble that maybe that 2% of the people hear, and he says it doesn't exist, and they hate him, and they leave. Shane does these things for Intervention Records, and these records sell. Not that, I mean, he's doing it in a good way, and I think that's totally legitimate. Some people think, well, should these guys go in there? All they're trying to do is sell. he loves music. He's a fan. He got involved. I mean, I don't know him like you do, but he's almost in my neighborhood, just south of Seattle here. And but there are people like that. Every time I mean, I look at comments on your videos, Michael, and both of you Michaels, and my videos. I get, every time I do a video and I have this passion about a certain record or title, audiophile or not, I get a handful of people. So I just ordered that. I bought that. I didn't know that existed. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
We sell records, and that's kind of why the things like the video I did yesterday were.
And you sell records to each other, of course.
Well, that's my next thing, which I'm gonna get. I'm so pissed at you, effer, for the next one I'm gonna show. But that's why, like that video, some people on a Beatle forum got a little pissy, saying, "Oh, the Yoko and John Lennon estate are pushing this," because a handful of people, including myself, got an advance copy of the Plastic Ono Band box set. Of course they want us to do a video on it, and they don't even have to ask, and I did it. I mean, shit, they're noticing us. They're noticing this stuff. In the ad today, the John Lennon channel, they have my picture with the other two people showing our video, you know, so it matters. And we don't do this to get free shit, and it's not about that. And if I don't like something, I'm going to show it. But anyway, that it does matter about that, because people aren't reading Greil Marcus's Rolling Stone review of some Dylan or band thing anymore like they used to. Maybe they go to Pitchfork or something else, but they're sitting there, they're watching, you know, the so-called real people that aren't critics doing this stuff. I guess there's that fine line if we get something
or reviewers, Danny.
You know,
and I don't mean that as a
I think print media is dead, honestly. I think print media, as far as, you know, talking about just our hobby and you know, reviewing hi-fi gear, this, that, and the other records, I think print media is dead. I think that in a very short time period, I mean, let's face it, the only people, and I'm talking about like the hi-fi stuff now specifically, like Stereophile and the Absolute Sound and Hi-Fi Plus, those are kind of like the three big English-speaking magazines. I don't know anyone my age that is actually buying and reading that stuff anymore. They're all on YouTube. They're all, you know, Mazzy, to your point, you know, I'm into cars, right? And I've got my, you know, dozen or so YouTube guys that I watch. That's where I get my news from. I don't look at Car and Driver anymore. I don't look at Road and Track anymore. Who cares? Automoto and Sport? Are you kidding me? When I was reading that when I was like 7 years old. That's like a German institution magazine for car nuts, right? I don't read that stuff anymore. First of all, it's way out of date. Second of all,
they lied too many times.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. They told us lies too often.
Yeah. I think you're right, Mazzy. It's all about YouTube. It's all about the you know, people want to hear from the everyday guy what he's listening to, what he's consuming, you know, how he's driving a car.
And the true experience. What has your experience been? How was it before I go into it? And then you say it was good or it was not.
Well, I mean, it's like if you like a writer reviewer, or you trust or don't trust, you like or don't like, you understand their tastes after a while. So if Michael recommends something, or Michael in LA recommends something, I mean, I've bought a handful of records that both of you have recommended, because even if I don't even hear a snippet, I mean, I'll check out a little bit, but I understand the way you explain certain things. I understand how Michael, there's a certain minimal softness, not to everything but that's big part of what I get from Michael, Balmaray Michael there. And I love that kind of stuff. That's one segment, you know, so. Michael's going to say something. I think Michael's going to say something. I think we got three loudmouths here, and we're keeping Michael too quiet.
I'm an introvert by nature. Oh, I was going to kind of touch on the point again of labels that they're not limited. yes, there's different pressings. This is one in particular.
Mm,
Chat, this is the Analog Productions version of Helen
Beautiful.
Merrill. This is the second pressing. So I kind of slept on it and it went out of print and I was like, oh damn. And then, you know, it comes back. Not all of them are limited. Yes, they can repress it. But, and it, like, you know, there's two different aspects in my mind. There's like the collector, hopefully not flipper, but like someone that wants to have the first pressing and the lowest number and be the first and have this very special object that, and there's other people like me, like, yes, that's cool having a first pressing and having this limited thing, but also it's like, this is the same pressing, this is the same music. Yes, it's a little later on the stamper possibly, but you know, they're not
They
printing.
don't use a stamper more than 1,000 times.
So there you
make a
go.
new stamper.
So this
Isn't
is,
that, there's the acoustic sound series, the regular series that just came out of that, which is great. That's the one I have,
right.
$30 one or whatever it is.
Yep. And same with this on Sam.
ah, yes.
This was gone. I missed it, and I was like about to spend, you know, $150, and then 2 weeks later I waited, and it's back in print, gone again. I'm sure it'll come back in print again at some point. So, like
and that's what they did right. And you always find second pressing, third pressing, and that's great. That's absolutely legit and a beautiful thing to do.
yeah, and it's the same music. So
Yeah.
if it means that much to you to have the first pressing, you pay more. That's fine. Like, do your thing. But like, the music is here. It's available.
Absolutely.
I mean, back in the, Danny, I worked in the record business in the 70s. I'm the old one here. I worked from 73 to 80, worked first from retail stores and then to ABC Records and MCA Records. And so I don't know anyone back then, and you know, I was in my 20s, that talked about pressings and mastering and RLs, and we didn't give a shit about that. And in fact, I remember we worked in the retail, we would bring in our late 60s records when we were a kid that we'd shoot up on the records, keep our covers, put it in the thing and get a new copy. And one of my buddies who's a bit audiophile says, Maslov, you had me like do that when I worked at Tower. So I got all my new records, but I got rid of all my first pressings because of you. Well, we didn't know that. That wasn't a thing then. Of course,
Yeah.
you had to be careful because, you know, Warner Brothers went from the green label to the palm trees, and you couldn't always, you know, trade in something that was so old. But within a couple of years, they didn't change those labels like right away. And nobody looked in the etching when, you know, what pressing plant or anything in those days. I didn't know anyone who did any of that shit. Literally,
But how was it in the United States in that time with the Japanese pressing? I know that some people,
Good question.
in the 70s, mid 70s, I remember that they were very fond of those.
They were, but we didn't know better.
Wrong of those Japanese.
Also, well, what we really liked, we had import sections. We really liked UK and German pressings. Japanese pressings, we thought we were good, but I have, you know, the Beatle albums, the EAS series with thick covers and everything. And I know a lot of people like to collect those. They're terrible Beatle records. But the MoFi Beatle box is terrible. It's not even, it's like from a third generation or whatever it is. I have it, and you know, it's not great. You know, that's why I've told you that D Beatles record, that Horzu D Beatles.
Danny, he talks about a Herzu edition. Remember?
The Horzu.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, the D Beatles is the best sounding version of Please Please Me.
That's so,
you can get
so
seriously.
So,
It's
yeah,
a different cover. And of course, the Horzu Magic Mystery Tour was the only time we had those 3 tracks on side 2 in full stereo. They weren't in stereo until, you know, years later. There was mono version. So
did you know that? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now I want to show something here, just because I bought this, I think because of Michael and a bunch of people in the Hoffman Forum, a bunch of people on Instagram. And I know this Michael is in love with Impex Records, and it's this record.
Ah, yes.
Now, Michael knows, we had a conversation about this. And I showed this on one of my mix videos the other day and talked about it. The Sal Suzuki Trio Quartet, you know, Japanese jazz. I don't even know when the fuck this thing was recorded. 1973. Okay. This is one of the best sounding, beautiful recordings, spacious, and all those friggin' audiophile labels you have. You want to talk about it and everything. It's beautiful. It's not Blow Up, by the way, but the movie Blow Up. It's not that soundtrack like that Herbie Hancock did. And I mean, this, you put this on when you want your friends and guests to hear a great stereo, and it's the texture and the tonalities and all that frilly stuff. This is the most boring fucking jazz record I have in my collection. It sounds like the lobby band at the Holiday Inn in Tarzana, California. That kind of jazz group doing a casual on a Sunday afternoon tea hour or cocktail hour. There's no soul to this music. It's like white bread jazz.
You give me a chance to reply, Mezi.
White bread jazz done by Japanese musicians.
But Mezi, I mean, we talked about that, and in a way you are right.
I'm right in a total way. I'm right.
Because the Japanese, when it comes to jazz, they are very careful and always on the safe side. So in a way you're right. But if you say so, what do you say about this one?
Well,
because,
okay.
This, if you say this is boring, I can understand it, but this is so bad, cheesy, inconsistent, and boring, unbelievable. Your typical I want to be cool jazz nowadays. A terrible record.
This is a tit for tat thing. You know, basically what that is, you're probably not a fan of Bill Frisell then. His last year, his Valentine record is it's an easy record. That's basically Valentine with a saxophone added to it. I mean, the same group of people, a lot of the same musicians, but it's an easygoing jazz record, definitely. But it's got more soul in this little finger than this record.
Talking about this one?
Yeah. But it's an easy, you know.
No.
Okay,
and
that's
you're
totally fair.
strictly speaking musically, right?
No, you can't say
yes,
that.
musically, yeah.
No,
musically.
it's let's be cool, and what can we do that this won't be the worst tone poet ever?
Do you like Bill Frisell? Do you like Bill Frisell?
The early Bill Frisell, not the late Bill Frisell.
That's fair. No, that's a fair point. I understand that. I know where you're coming from with that. I do understand it, you know.
But I mean, part of that is just the style of music that you resonate with, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this a few more times, but
right in a way. But you have to know that when it comes to Japanese jazz, they are not so strong when it comes to improvisation. They are not when it comes to jazz.
It's pretty calculated. Yeah.
It's just a cultural difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mean to offend any Japanese jazz artists who are watching this.
So Mazzy, here's one I thought of when you mentioned the gosh, I can't believe it's out of my mind. Chet Baker, sorry. You know, the box set that came out a year ago, no, it was a year and a half ago, because I remember it was pre-COVID. Right. And you know, Michael probably remembers this too. I used to go to Amoeba probably twice a month, and there was stacks of the box set you could buy for $99 with all 5 records, and they were sitting on the shelf and sitting on the shelf and sitting on the shelf. Of course, I bought one, and now that box set is $500-600 on eBay, right? And now, of course, and what's silly is all these albums, except for one, I forgot which title it is.
This one.
But that's right. That's right. They're all available for $25 separately anyway. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same thing with this John Prine, right? Record Store Day Edition. It was the box set. It's his 4 albums. I think, I'm trying to remember what I paid for this. It was $99. I forgot. It was just the standard Record Store Day thing. And now this box set, despite the fact that just like the Chet Baker you're showing, all albums are available individually, the box set is still $300-400. I mean, does any of that make any sense?
You have the same with the Neil Young box sets, by the way. The first one is incredible expensive, although you can get every record as a single edition.
Yeah.
So there's something about the sum of those parts that make it more valuable, I guess, too.
Well, when I was complaining
collector
about box sets earlier, this is a different thing. You know, this is not one album like those big thick things. So I applaud I love this stuff.
That was a beautiful addition.
And it's craft, and it's not
Yes.
crazy. For the price of that fucking small batch, you get this.
Right. Mazzy,
Yeah.
one thing I will mention, next time you watch a video from Ludwig's, look at his shelf and look how beautiful those MoFi one steps look all
We're
lined up.
organized.
Well, I'm having, I'm a Virgo, and I do like that. I'm going crazy right now because from my position, Danny's Wilson speakers look like they're not so symmetrical, like how they're stacked up there. And I'm going like I'm on spilkas, as my people say. God damn.
People.
You will survive, man. You will survive.
So that's okay. So his thing is so organized, and the records. That's why he likes that Japanese music, because it's very
good point. It's a good
contained.
point.
Yeah.
By the way, Mazzy, just because I'm looking at it above the camera, I see my Beatles mono box set. Hallelujah, amen. That's going for $1,500.
Oh no, it's actually down below. That's the White Album thing. That's the White Album CD box, but I do have the MoFi. I mean, not the MoFi, the mono white box.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
And the Rolling Stone one's is expensive, and the Kinks
Yeah.
one. All three of those are the mono ones are great.
And they have been in stores for years.
Well,
Yeah.
the mono
again-
box,
and
the
again-
mono
and again.
box was around for 4 years. And
Yes.
You could get it for 4 years. Now it sells for about $1,200 or something. You know,
That's crazy. Why?
No, it's not crazy. No, why is that crazy, Danny?
No, but because it was available for dude. I walk into Amoeba Music and I see 5 boxes just sitting there collecting dust,
but
selling for $249 or whatever the street price was. I
there are a
think
lot of new buyers now in the last
I
4
guess so.
years that weren't buying records then and are discovering this stuff because of channels like us and Hoffman forums. And
Yeah,
you're absolutely
that's
right.
true.
You could get it. I mean, you could get a reasonable price. It's like anything, right? Stuff sits there. We had Amoeba in San Francisco, and I'd see a stack of something week after week after week after week, and now I'm thinking, God, those records, I should have grabbed it, you know. But
Right.
the way it is.
Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Very true.
Michael,
who's
should we do
next?
another round or two, or what?
We can
Whatever.
do one round, I
Yeah.
guess.
LA Michael. What's next on your shelf?
Well, I wanted to talk, going back to what Danny mentioned about, like, isn't every record limited technically? This is a funny one. This is the
Yes.
Weezer. This is the black vinyl variant.
That's black, okay.
Black one. But check out the gold foil stamp here. I don't know if you can see that.
21,000.
Wow.
So is this limited? Yes. Stamped 21,534.
Yeah.
I mean,
How limited is that?
right, exactly.
Speaking of limited, they did the blue version, which I heard sold out in like 10 minutes or something.
No.
No?
The blue version has been out of print since 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay. It was something else then.
But I mean, yeah, it's just kind of funny, like how high. I mean, I'm sure they've even that. I'm not sure how many copies this went, but 22,000.
Yeah.
See, it's kind of like, okay, like at some point, it's like that number means nothing.
Yeah, you know,
Well,
I've
but
got
at the
my
same
copy.
time-
I've got my copy from Neil Young, Young Shakespeare on Friday, on Thursday, and it has a number 38,000 plus. So
Wow.
That's
even
the way.
more.
That's a good thing. I
Yeah.
think it should be in print for everyone who wants to get it.
And don't forget that, interesting, I should have put that out. I have a Depeche Mode maxi single, 12-inch, mixed by Sherman. And it was ultra limited in what do I know, 78 or when, ultra limited to 50,000 copies. in 75, that was nothing.
Yeah. It's all I mean, I've showed it before on my channel. One of my most valuable records worth about $600, and it came out in 76, and it's the first album by the Residents, the art rock kind of electronic band out of San Francisco, their own record, Ralph Records, I think, and 1,000 copies. We sold it in the store. I grabbed one, and it was the one with the Meet the Beatles parody cover. And they drew the faces on, and I have it. And that's like $600 now. And so it just, but I didn't buy it for that. I just bought it because of the Beatle connection in those days.
So here's a very limited edition one, probably one of the most prized possessions I have in my collection. Wink, wink. I'm a big Glenn Campbell fan, right? I mean, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, I think you can't give it away for $5. Obviously I'm kidding, but I mean, this is the flip side of it, right? It's like you have an abundance of records that are great music, no one gives a shit about, and you can find a new copy sealed for literally $5, right? And how many of these did they press? I mean, I have no idea.
That was probably 1976 or 7 that album came out.
76. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I sold that record, and it was a huge hit. Rhinestone Cowboy, of course, a lot of us like the stuff he did by the time he get to Phoenix, and even his guitar, sure, his 12-string guitar stuff and all that, which is really great. And then he was one of the Wrecking Crew, and all of a sudden he's huge in the 70s, Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's let me see, what else do I have here? Here's an interesting one. Here's a very interesting one. Enigma.
Okay.
Limited edition, right? This is their greatest hits. Good luck finding it. I think this was $30 when it came out. It's on colored. This one I think is on clear vinyl. $100 record. Right? Enigma. I mean, seriously, who knows? I guess a couple of people probably know about Enigma, but, it was big when I was in college. It was, they were huge with their dance hits and all that stuff. But now it's like, okay, Enigma records, $100. What, next thing you're going to tell me Milli Vanilli is $500. I mean,
Well, we haven't even talked about, which I think is another conversation, all the record store day stuff that's limited and then goes for some of it retains, but a lot of it doesn't. You get the people that miss out, and for the first few weeks they're buying these things for a lot of money, and it's saturated. And then more and more of these quote first record store releases are coming out like 6 months, a year later for normal price.
Well, it's like that John Prine box set.
Yeah,
that was $99 with 4 records in it, and now you can get them all individually, dime a dozen, and yet the box set still is $400 or $500 on eBay.
Yeah. Or the Phil Evans stuff Resonance puts out on record places. It's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Mezi, your last choice.
Okay, my last choice. Aside from perseverance, it's luck and timing. It's really just luck and timing, a lot of this. And again, as I said, I got my Instagram thing and another Instagram channel or a business I subscribe to is Mobile Fidelity, of course. And I didn't get all the Dylan albums. I just didn't. I have like original pressings. I have the mono box. I have about maybe 7 MoFis. I probably should have gotten them all, but I'm a big Dylan fan, and I missed out. One of my favorite albums is Desire, and the original Desire really didn't sound that good. I remember when it came out, because Blood on the Tracks back in the 70s sounded so good, and then a year later, 2 years later, Desire comes out, and it had a sound I remember not loving. And I tried to get the MoFi. I blew it, and I didn't get the MoFi. And of course, one day I'm looking, and MoFi puts a thing up, 1,000 copies, this ultra thing, right? Oh, what the fuck is this? Super vinyl, not vinyl, but super fucking vinyl, right? 1,000 copies. What is it? It's $75. I ordered it, and of course, in 15 minutes it was sold out. But I got it, but it was just luck. Looking at the algorithms, they know they know me now, and I bought it. And you have to jump on these things. And people, and even Michael, I think you got upset that you didn't get this, right?
Well made, Messi. Well made.
But so I do have to send you this too?
I hate you now.
Yes.
$1,000. It's yours. $1,000.
Is it really?
Oh, I don't know. How much does this go for? It's several hundred.
No, I think it goes around $200.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what's super vinyl? So again, MoFi can do their version, 1,000 copies. I'm number 342. They can do it, and then they can do like a super vinyl. And then how about more super vinyl or super vinyl?
Super vinyl, exactly.
Yeah, hey, that's another. Well, I guess it started in Japan with JVC and their UHQR and all that.
Yeah.
But again, Michael Hobson, Classic Records, super QXR, Virgin, this, that, the other, vinyl. You had the big hype sticker on the albums.
Yeah.
I hate to say. Well, and one other thing we didn't even talk about really is sound quality, right? Which is to say, maybe that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Are these new editions really that much better or better at all than the original?
Yeah.
In most cases, they are.
It depends.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to ask. I'm a little bit too young to have been collecting audiophile stuff in the classic era, the classic era of classic records. Why is no one doing the Clarity vinyl anymore?
They're doing it.
They are.
The UHQR.
UHQR, yeah.
That doesn't have the carbon.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely difficult to produce. Don't forget that those UHQR, they do them by hand. Record per record. It's extremely tough to do, and there are not much pressing plants that can do them. So
I've never heard Clarity vinyl. Is there a distinction to a black, let's say 180 gram all analog black
it's
pressing?
decarbonized, and because the carbon creates magnetic fields, and that disturbs your cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Clarity vinyl is without the carbon.
Mm-hmm.
That helps upgrading the sound quality in theory. But the ones I have really sound good, really great. So
here's your theory on its head. So I have giant woofer magnets right here next to my cartridge. How does that impact things? What's, different topic. Let's not go there.
The plate in my head is affecting my cartridge.
Yeah. Okay. I have the last things to show, and what interesting was every record we talked about today, we can buy. If you have $1,500, you can buy the Beatles mono. If you have $250, you can buy the Bob Dylan Desire or the Yusuf Lateef for $500. If you want to, you can buy them. But there are also really rare items or editions. Editions you do not find. You don't find them. They are not there. If you look at Discogs, if they exist, they have never been sold. When it comes to the price, it's empty. And I have two editions from the Electric Recording Company. Those are Bruckner.
Wow.
Bruckner editions. And they did 99 copies. And they never ever showed up over at eBay or Discogs. And that's rare and limited, I think.
Wow.
A record you don't find, you can't buy. You can't buy.
Did you buy them directly from them?
Yeah.
99
copies. And this is also a very interesting topic, I think. Really rare records, because today we talked about limited editions, the good, the bad, the ugly, but we can buy them if we want. We just have to go very deep into the pockets, and in most cases we probably say no, not with me. But there are also editions, they are not out there anymore. So that was my last choice of the day.
Right. And anyone have any test pressings of albums that never actually were released?
I do.
I have one.
That's some rare. That's rare stuff there.
I was hoping to get that Balmorhea test pressing, but it never showed
Yeah.
up.
Ooh,
I just got some friggin' incense, you know.
that just sold out.
The incense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, probably.
Oh, I showed it, didn't I?
Yeah.
I did a psychedelic showing.
This is so fun, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
So,
So-
Danny,
For having me.
that was your Äquatortaufe. Geht's dir noch gut?
I'm a
But I
little
think we should
exhausted.
do, we need,
That's a lot.
don't go so fast. We have to do our don't we?
Okay, let's say goodbye and stay on after this. I'm going to stop the recording, but
Okay.
Mazzy and the Michaels and the guy down in the corner love you.